1963, a man in Turkey was renovating his basement. He knocked down a wall and found a room, then another room, then news, then another room, then a tunnel, then a staircase leading down, and down, and down. 18 stories underground, carved by hand, 2,000 years ago, large enough to hide an entire city. 20,000 people, living, breathing, surviving, completely invisible to the world above. This is Derinkuyu, and it is the most extraordinary thing ever built by human hands that almost nobody in America has ever heard of. Stay with me for the next 15 minutes, because I'm going to take you underground. I'm going to show you how a civilization carved an entire functioning city, kitchens, schools, churches, wine cellars, stables, straight into solid volcanic rock. I'm going to show you the one engineering feature that still baffles modern architects today. I'm going to tell you why they built it, and the terrifying answer is something that feels uncomfortably familiar right now in 2026. And I'm going to show you the thing they found down there that historians are still arguing about. No dramatization, no speculation. Every single thing I tell you today is verified, documented, and sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone to actually talk about it. This is Hidden History Files. Let's go underground. We're in central Turkey, Cappadocia. If you've ever seen those photos of bizarre mushroom-shaped rock towers rising out of a flat landscape, that's here. The entire region sits on a thick layer of volcanic rock called tuff. Soft, easy to carve, holds its shape once exposed to air. For thousands of years, people in this region carved homes directly into the rock faces. It was practical. It was cool in summer, warm in winter. But at some point, historians believe between 800 BC and the early centuries AD, someone looked at that soft volcanic rock and had a different idea. Not a cave, not a room carved into a hillside, a city, underground, going straight down. The town above ground today, also called Derinkuyu, is completely ordinary. 40,000 people live there. Shops, traffic, kids walking to school. And directly beneath their feet, 18 stories down, sits one of the greatest engineering achievements in human history. An achievement that was completely lost, completely forgotten, for hundreds of years. Until one man knocked down a basement wall in 1963. His name hasn't been widely recorded. History has a cruel habit of forgetting the ordinary people who find extraordinary things. What we know is this: he was doing routine home renovation. He broke through a wall in his basement and found a passage. He went in. He found a room he'd never seen, then a corridor, then a staircase carved from solid rock, descending into pure darkness. He got the authorities, and when archaeologists finally arrived and began exploring, really exploring, what they found rewrote everything historians thought they knew about ancient civilization in this region. The city descends 280 feet, almost 30 stories, below the surface. It has over 600 entrances, most of them hidden inside ordinary homes and courtyards above. It has ventilation shafts, over 52 of them, drilled from the surface, providing fresh air to every level. It has a water system, underground wells tapping into aquifers, fresh water hundreds of feet below ground. It has a winery, a brewery, oil presses. It has stables, carved rooms large enough for livestock. It has schools, missionary quarters, a church on the deepest level. It has communal kitchens with carved stone surfaces still blackened from ancient fires. This wasn't a shelter. This was a city. A fully functioning, self-sustaining city, built entirely underground, hidden entirely from view. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Because this wasn't just a matter of digging some tunnels and calling it a city. The people who built Derinkuyu understood structural engineering, airflow dynamics, water management, and defensive architecture at a level that still impresses modern engineers. Let's start with the doors. At each level, and at strategic points throughout the tunnels, the builders installed doors. Not wooden doors, not iron gates, stone wheels. Massive circular slabs of rock, 5 feet tall, up to half a ton each, carved to roll perfectly in a slot cut into the tunnel floor and ceiling. From outside, they looked like part of the wall. You couldn't tell they were doors at all. From inside, you could roll them into position in seconds, sealing the tunnel completely. And here's the detail that makes modern engineers pause. Each stone door had a small hole through the center. so defenders inside could push a spear through and attack anyone trying to force the door open from the outside. You couldn't break through the door, you couldn't move it from outside, and if you tried, you got a spear in the face. These people didn't just build an underground city, they built an underground fortress. The ventilation system is even more impressive. 52 shafts, each one carefully angled, each one positioned to create cross-ventilation between levels. Air goes in one shaft, circulates through the floors, and exits through another. Without electricity, without fans, without any technology beyond a chisel and an extraordinary understanding of airflow. Scientists have tested the air quality in the deepest chambers. It is still breathable today. 2,000 years later, the system still works. So who built it? This is where historians get into arguments. The honest answer is, we're not entirely sure. The leading theory, supported by most mainstream archaeologists, is that the Phrygians began construction around 800 BC. The Phrygians were an ancient Anatolian people, skilled builders. They carved extensively into the soft rock of Cappadocia. But here's what the evidence also shows. Derinkuyu wasn't built all at once. It was expanded over centuries. Different groups, at different times, kept going deeper. Early Christians fleeing Roman persecution used it. Byzantine communities expanded it. Arab raids in the 7th and 8th centuries sent people back underground. This city was used, actively used, for over 1,000 years. Think about that for a moment. The United States has existed for 250 years. Derinkuyu was in use for 4 times longer than the entire history of America. And then it was sealed, forgotten, buried under a modern town, until 1963. Here's the question nobody asks enough. Why did they build it? What were they so afraid of that they carved 18 stories into the earth, moved their entire lives underground, and designed a city specifically so nobody could find them? The answer is simple, and it's ancient. They were afraid of other people. Cappadocia sat at the crossroads of empires. Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Mongols, Seljuks, Byzantine armies, Arab raiders. For 2,000 years, this region was one of the most invaded, most fought over, most dangerous places on Earth. When you hear hoofbeats on the plain, when the lookouts signal an army approaching, you have 2 choices: run or disappear. Derinkuyu was the disappearing act. Entire communities, men, women, children, elderly, livestock, food stores, valuables, could vanish underground within hours. From above, the town looked abandoned, empty, not worth attacking. The army would move on. And 2,000 feet below, or rather 280 feet below, 20,000 people waited in the dark, in a fully functioning city, with food, water, wine, and air, waiting for the danger to pass. I want you to sit with that for a second. 20,000 people, children doing lessons by lamplight, women pressing olives in underground kitchens, priests holding services in a carved stone church, all of them invisible, all of them surviving. Here's what makes Derinkuyu even more extraordinary. It's not alone. Archaeologists have now identified over 200 underground cities in the Cappadocia region. 200. Some small, some medium, and a handful, like Derinkuyu and its neighbor Kaimakli, absolutely massive. And here is the detail that genuinely has not been resolved by anyone. There is strong evidence that Derinkuyu and Kaimakli are connected by a tunnel running between the 2 cities, 6 miles underground. 6 miles of tunnel connecting 2 underground cities, each capable of housing tens of thousands of people. That tunnel has never been fully explored. Part of it has been mapped. Part of it has collapsed. Part of it, nobody knows where it goes. As of today, right now in 2026, archaeologists estimate that less than half of Derinkuyu itself has been fully explored. The rest is still down there, in the dark, waiting. I want to bring this home, because here's what I keep thinking about when I read about Derinkuyu. These weren't extraordinary people. They were farmers, families, ordinary people living ordinary lives above ground, who built something extraordinary, not because they wanted to, because they had to, because the world above them became unsafe, and they refused to just accept it. They didn't run. They didn't surrender. They built. 280 feet straight down, with nothing but chisels, lamplight, and an absolute determination to survive. And it worked. The armies came. The armies left. And 20,000 people were still there, still alive, still together, invisible, undefeated. The city above Derinkuyu has changed hands dozens of times in 2,000 years. The city below, the one they built, was never taken, not once. If you can visit only one place in your lifetime that will genuinely change how you think about human history, go to Cappadocia, go underground, stand in those tunnels, and think about the 20,000 people who stood in the exact same spot, in total darkness, listening for footsteps above. This has been Hidden History Files. If this story hit different for you, if you genuinely didn't know this place existed, hit like. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, the ones that got buried, forgotten, or deliberately left out of every textbook you ever read.